Module 1.4, applying addition and subtraction of integers. So that means when you're applying stuff, you're using word problems. Favorite. So how do you solve multi-step problems involving addition and subtraction of integers? Let's find out. In the first example, a seal is swimming in the ocean. 5 feet below sea level, it dives down 12 feet to catch some fish. Then the seal swims up 8 feet towards the surface with its catch. What's the seal's final elevation relative to sea level? Okay, here we go. It's swimming at 5 feet, then it dives down 12, goes up 8, and what is its final elevation relative to the sea level? You write your expression. Starts at 5, and it starts at 5 below, so that's negative, and dives down, so it goes. So you subtract 12, and then it goes up, so you do the opposite of going down. Going up means you're going to add 8. And now we have to actually work that problem out. Oh, right here. Negative 5 minus 12 is negative 17. And then they have the plus 8. And negative 17 plus 8 is negative 9. So that means it's 9 feet below, because it's negative, sea level. And this is reasonable. It's always good to estimate your answer. So it's reasonable, yeah, because you're swim farther down than up. Anna is in a cave below. The cave entrance, she descends 13 feet and then goes. So descends means go down, and ascends means go up. What is her final position? It's 35 feet, and here's the expression. You have negative 40 minus 13, so you do that part first, and then you add 18, and you should end up with negative 35, or 35 feet below the cave entrance. So you can use the properties of addition to solve problems involving integers. Irene has a checking account. On Monday, she writes a $160 check for groceries. She deposits, which means she adds money into her account, $125. Finally, she writes another check for $40. What's the total change in the amount of Irene's account? When she deposits money, she adds money to the account. When she writes a check, that money is deducted from the account or taken away. Oops. Use a positive integer for the amount Irene adds to the account and use negative integers for the check she writes. So $160. Yep, there's a check for $160 taken away. Then she deposits 125, so that adds 25. And then she writes another check for $40. So that's taken away $40 there. Add the amounts together. When you do, you will get, oh, and I'd like to explain what's happening right here. So you have these numbers, but if you're adding each of them, which you have addition and addition, you could rearrange the order of these, and that's what happened here. They saw that 16 or 60 plus 40 is 100, or 160 plus 40 is 200. And you can kind of do that in your head. So they moved this one next to this one right here. They rearranged them, and then the 125 is at the end. That's using the commutative property, which tells you that you can rearrange numbers when you're adding them. And so these two together is negative 200, and then plus 125. That's a little bit easier to do in your head, which is negative 75. So the account decreased by $75. That negative means it went down $75. Irene's account has $75 less than it did on Monday. This is reasonable because she wrote checks for $200 but only deposited $125. Describe a different way to find the change in Irene's account. Well, here's another one. You could represent the amounts. She writes his checks as positive numbers, and there you go. There's another way. All right, for your turn, Alex wrote checks for on Tuesday for 35 and 45. He also made a deposit in his checking account for 180. Find the overall change. So there you go. It went up $100. All right, comparing values of expressions. Sometimes you want to compare the values obtained by adding and subtracting integers. So the Tigers, which are a football team, must gain 10 yards in the next 4 plays to keep possession of the ball. The Tigers lose 12 yards, gain 5 yards, lose 8, and gain 14. Do the Tigers maintain possession of the ball? So to analyze the information, when the team gains yards, that add that distance, and when they lose yards, you subtract the distance. And the total change in yards, if the total change in yards is equal to or greater than 10, then they keep possession of the ball. So that's what we're looking for, something that's equal to or greater than 10. So we'll take the numbers. We lose 12. We lose 12 right there. And we gain 5, so that's plus 5. And then we lose 8, which right there, and then we gain 14. So every time we lose, it's negative. Every time we gain, it's positive. And so here are the integers, and we'll do it from, well, and so to subtract, so this was changed right here from subtraction to adding the opposite. So we can go from left to right. Or what they chose to do is they saw, and this isn't completely necessary, but you can see that 12 and 8 are 20. So they use the commutative property again to move, to switch the order of these. So now we can see that this is going to be negative 20. And the associative property, again, not totally necessary, but the associative property gives you the ability to add grouping symbols. So that's what's done here and here, the grouping symbols for the associative property. So this is negative 20 and this is 19. And negative 20 plus 19, they're different signs, so you have to subtract them. Keep the sign of the 20, it's negative 1. And negative 1 is less than the 10 yards that we need for the Tigers to maintain possession. So Tigers, they do not maintain possession. And to justify, the football team gained 19 yards but lost 20 yards for a total of negative 1 yards. Not so good. What does it mean the football team had a total of negative 1 yard over 4 plays? It means they lost 1 more yard than it gained. All right, Jim and Carla are scuba diving. So he started out with 10 feet below the surface. He descended, which means he went down 18 feet, rose 5, went down 12 more, then he rested. Okay, so there is Jim right there. Carla started out at the surface. She descended, then she rose, descended another 18 feet, then rested. Which person rested at a greater depth? Let's see. So I'll go with Jim here. Jim will go right here. And he started out 10 feet below the surface, so that's negative 10. 10 feet below. and then he descended 18 feet, so that means he went down. Maybe I'll add a negative 18 feet. And then he rose 5, so I went up 5, and then descended 12 more feet, and then descended 12 more feet. And let's see. I'll just go straight ahead here. This right here for Jim, that's what, negative 28 plus 5 plus negative 12, and negative 28 plus 5, that would be negative 23 plus negative 12. Okay, these are the same signs, so I'm going to add them. So that's 35, so negative 35. So he's at negative 35 feet there. And then for Carla, I'll put Carla over here. Carla started out at the surface, and then she descended 20 feet. So descended 20 right there, and then rose 5, and then descended another 18. So add another negative 18. And this is going to be negative 15 plus negative 18. They're the same signs, so I'm going to add them. 33, negative 33. So, which person rested at a greater depth? Well, we're looking at negative 35 versus negative 33. And there we go. So, so Jim rested at a greater depth, negative 35.